My name is Edward Greene, and I came here for the first time in 1953. I was taking a professional class in New York when the choreographer of the Lost Colony was sitting there watching. Now, this happened often. People would be there, you didn't know who they were, but they were watching everybody dancing. And when it was over, he approached me and said, "Would you be interested in being in a show in North Carolina?" And I said, "Tell me more." And fortunately, he and his wife had rented an apartment for the winter up there in Manhattan. And so he had several of us over. And by the time he finished telling us what we would be doing, it was an area I'd never heard of. But I was fascinated because he described the people, the culture, the naturalness of the area, the kind of desolation. It was not well populated. I think when we came down in 53, the population was about 4,000 people. But everything he told us was exactly true. I've never heard, a lot of people will repeat stories and get them all wrong. What he told me was perfect. And with that became an instant love affair with the people, with the area, with the history, with the overall culture. I was hired to be assistant choreographer, be one of the Indians, and understudy to Upperwalk, the lead dancer. Yeah. And Andy Griffith was in the show the first year we did it. He had been doing it for, that was about his 7th year. And then in 1954, I came back to do it again, but he did not. He was already heading for stardom. I realized that I had so fallen in love that with the area and the people, that when I retired from theater, I would come down here and try to do something. And during those, it was 14 years later that I came down and ultimately opened up the business. I was not a fisherman. I was not a hunter. And there were not a lot of jobs to be had down here. So I figured, since I'm not those other characters, I had to invent my own situation. And the people they've made me feel right at home. From the day I mentioned I was going to settle here, I felt like I'd come home. So I figured, in addition to the art, I'm going to sell Christmas decorations. And of course, everybody thought I was crazy. I'd heard that a store up in Cape Cod had sold some decorations, but they hadn't made a whole shop of it. That's where I varied, and I kind of raised the bar up for that. And then after a period of time, everybody in town thought I was crazy. Everybody knew me, knew what was going on, and Andy Griffith went around telling everybody he thought I was crazy, but we showed him. I had no idea how it was going to open up my life in ways that I never imagined. And before I knew it, I was invited to be part of the Chamber of Commerce. And in those days, the Chamber was 45 people. I was in the Tourist Bureau, and after a few years, I even became town commissioner for 12 years. And then I learned a phrase I'd never heard before. If you want to get something done, ask a busy man. And I got involved in so many things. And now that I'm about to retire, I'm wondering what I can start volunteering for. One of the key people in the community in those early days was a man by the name of David Stick. Everybody knew David Stick, and it did not take long for me to put him up on a pedestal. I met him. He was just very impressive as a human being and an active participant in the communities. Well, anyway, make a long story short, he called me and Andy Griffith and a very successful businessman, George Crocker of the Galleon, which was over in Nag's Head. And there were three of us, and he said, if I invited you to meet with me, and I did not tell you what it is I want you to do, and you knew who the others were, would you come? And of course, we all said yes. And he was the one who proposed the Community Foundation. And again, he had a unique aspect to it. Most community foundations get created, but they don't get any money into them until they're bequeathed from wills and things. And he decided we'll just have memberships first. And the reason why he picked the three of us is we were all successful and had expressed a desire that somehow we wish we could give back to the community. How have I seen Manteo change? It's both changed a lot physically, but the spirit and the hospitality, the warmth of the people has not changed. And one of the things we did was we decided, I was a town commissioner at the time, and we decided we would like to make this town more inviting. And we were able to create a waterfront park, which did not exist there before. And there were certain buildings done. We set certain styles of architecture that we wanted to see reproduced. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, it's paid off. People think the town is very quaint, it's charming, and all the storekeepers are so happy to be here, the shopkeepers, that they exude hospitality. And I'm very proud of the way the town of Manteo has developed. And by and large, almost all of the time, we had people on the board who acted very responsibly in behalf of the town, and I feel the same way about the Lost Colony. In my opinion, it is an incredible piece of theater, and of course it won the Tony 2 years ago. It was the first time an award was given off of Broadway. And as far as I'm concerned, it's equal to any show on Broadway. And it keeps getting better. This year's production, the whole community is aroused with the fact that it's one of the best productions there's ever been. So I hope lots of people go to see it. And visit downtown Manteo, the love of my life.